All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another wild, wet, and exciting episode of the R&R Sports Podcast. I am your valiant host, Robert Jones, along with my marvelous Cockalorumous co-host, Randy Watkins.
Let me look that up. What are you describing me as?
Cockalorum, and someone who is Cockalorumous, is a boastful and self-important person, a strutting little fellow.
I'm going to stand up and show you my cockalorum.
I'm pretty sure you want to talk about something to get you demonetized on YouTube real quick. That will do it. That will do it.
Hey, I said cockalorum, and I got no pants on right now.
It's good Lord. Easy. Man, you're going to be, what you're saving in pants now, you're going to spend a fortune in therapy one day for those little girls.
Oh, hey, it's good to see you, man. It's been a couple of weeks.
Well, it's good to be seen, Randy. It's good to be seen. Better to be 6 feet up than 6 feet down. Am I right, ladies? It's yeah, the holidays, man, are just a real shitter for media personalities.
Shitter's full.
Yeah, not that we even really qualify as media personalities. We're just dads with chads, and it was a good holiday though. Good holiday. What about yourself?
Yeah, first Christmas for little man, so I'm sure it was special for you guys.
It was. It was a long-ass drive from home. We had a 14-hour drive to go celebrate Christmas. And then the worst part, all right, let me do a little quick qualifier. I love my family. I love my wife's family. I love getting to see them in Alabama.
Did you say you loathe your family?
Love.
Sorry. Love.
That song by Nat King Cole.
I loathe my family.
The thing you had when you married your wife, but it's slowly like the sands of time slipping out as you're married to your wife. I'm joking. No, if that's what's happening in marriage, that's not good. But anyways, 14 hours. So let's think of places you could be in 14 hours if you drove in any direction. 14 hours north, and you'd be New York, Boston, maybe even as far north as Vermont, Connecticut, cultural art centers, you'd easily be past DC. If you headed due west, you could go somewhere real fun, like, I don't know, Memphis or Nashville or something like that. Mm-hmm. But when you head kind of southwest 14 hours, you wind up in rural northern Alabama, the Muscle Shoals there. Yeah, but that's, man, there is goodness gracious, there is God and biscuits and Roll Tide. It's like you down there, you don't have to say anything. It's like their amen. It is their version of amen. They'll be like, amen, Roll Tide. And you're like, oh, okay. The phenomenon there of Alabama fans is the same as Tar Heels fans here. Loosely affiliated with the school. Nobody in your family for 6 generations has been there. That sort of a thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we fortunately have some great sports teams in North Carolina and Alabama. They've got the Tide.
You're right.
So
they do have. Well, in fairness, Randy, they also have. Oh, geez, look at that! Oh, hello there. They also have Auburn.
So I said great sports program.
Excuse me. How many national championships in football has Carolina won?
0.
Okay, all right.
We focus on basketball.
How many has Auburn won? I know they've at least won one.
Was that Bo Jackson? Did they win with him?
They won with Cam Newton. They may have won with
that's
Bo
right
Jackson too. But
they are a good football team.
Yeah,
I'm only kidding.
But outside of football, no, it's a very valid point.
Everyone I've ever met from Alabama is not an Auburn fan, though.
So Auburn, not to get stuck in Alabama football politics, Auburn is the land grant school of Alabama. It is the NC State of Alabama. So that's
where all the smarty pants go.
But here's the. You mean they're agriculture majors? Those are the smarty pants, Randy.
All
the guys
like
wearing overalls,
tickling
their nipple, looking at a donkey doing it in the field. Those guys, those are the brain trusts in Alabama. That's what you're saying.
My daddy is my uncle, and my uncle is my daddy.
And I'm my own grandpa. Anyways, what I was trying to say in a roundabout way, though I love my family and I love that Muscle Shoals area because there's some good music down there, it sucks driving 14 hours and having nothing to do once you get there. Like, there's no arts, there's no culture, there's no like, oh, let's go do the thing. The thing is visiting with family. That's the thing.
Like,
Whereas you drove 14 hours south and you'd be in Florida, baby, for Christmas,
Yeah. 14 hours probably put you close to the Keys, wouldn't it?
No, I think it takes
further than that.
I think it takes like 18 just to get down to Miami. So you'd be southern tip, but just the tip.
Oh, yeah.
What about yourself? Anything fun?
We stayed home and made it a quiet Christmas. So
I'm having a quiet Christmas.
Yeah, shut up and open your damn presents and play with them for a little while.
I don't want any damn vegetables.
I'm gonna sit here and drink my Irish coffee and watch some college football.
Oh, Randy, that stopped being coffee about 3 drinks ago.
No, it was a very good Christmas. But yeah, it's over. It's what amazes me every year, Robert, is all the build up and it's over so fast, and the day is past.
Yep. It's like losing your virginity. Feels like years of buildup, and then it's just whoop, it's gone.
There it goes, fleeting out the window, or the back seat of a Nissan Sentra.
Goodness gracious! I hope you weren't disposing of your condoms driving down the road. I knew a guy in college who did that. When he told me that he did that, I was just like,
throw him out the window.
I think I punched him in the throat. It's like, you're what's wrong with America. You're like a disease.
I don't care how much Rain-X you put on your windshield. You're not getting that off.
No, that's how you get diseases, man. Can you imagine the poor sap? Like if you
bicyclist riding down the road.
Now that is a punishment befitting a bicyclist, if I'm honest.
Yeah, sure. See how the road my ass. How about get off the damn road?
That's right. Yeah, I was reminded of that driving up 50 today. A rural road that I take to get to my house, for those of you listeners at home. It's 2 lanes, and it should be 60 miles an hour, but there are some people who like to ride their bicycle on it. It reminds me a lot of living in Asheville. You'd think that the mountains in Asheville would kind of deter people from riding their bikes, but everybody's like, 0 carbon footprint, man. So they're like riding their bicycle
everywhere. That is not a road you should ride your bicycle on. That seem like fun to me.
No, man, you don't think you should roll right down the middle of Glenwood Avenue in Raleigh?
No. That's a recipe for just getting hit. You're asking for it because there's no bike lanes. There's almost no shoulder on either side. So, yeah. My favorite is when there's a bike lane and they're still riding in the middle of the road. I just like to knock them out of the way on purpose. Yeah, you just kind of want to, open the door. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, clipped you there. Get into your own damn lane.
Well, it's so funny, too, because, we are not a bicycle culture here. We're all spread out. Anyways, the holidays is also a time to realize just how much you hate your family in close quarters. I love my family, but I'm certainly reminded over the holidays. You're like sitting there and realizing, man, it's good that we don't share a roof anymore.
Seriously, we got to see some family of ours that we probably hadn't seen in probably 4 or 5 years, and we're like, yep. There's a reason why we don't see you guys but every 4 or 5 years.
Yep. A nice distance buffer, just that good. You need some hours, and in some people you need some states, if I'm honest.
Seriously.
So there's lots to cover. We've had the first round of the college football playoff, and it's almost like we shouldn't have it at all. What's this now, the 3rd year in a row that we're having Alabama and Clemson?
Yep.
Just wildly exciting football. Just wild. Some of the key players are showing that they have we're having, let me put it this way. The 3 and 4 have been changing consistently. But other than that,
well, we talked about I
take it back. Wait, last year was not Clemson. Clemson lost in the first round of the college.
Right, it was Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah,
in a great game, actually, and Georgia blew it. And speaking of, a lot of people thought that they should have been in the top 4 this year. They only lost twice. However,
did you see their bowl game?
Ranked LSU and then SEC title game against Alabama, a close game, and then they get pounded in their bowl game. So, that could have gone either way. If they would have won their bowl game, then people would have still be saying that. But obviously, what you just said, people aren't saying that as much because they got beat. However, Notre Dame also got destroyed. They put up 3 points. If you put up 3 points in a college football playoff,
that's bad.
You should be banned for the next 5 years.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. It just goes to show you. So they got in on their name. Now, in fairness, they were 12-0, but
didn't play anybody.
Right. Again, they got in on their name. Well, even you and I were fooled. We thought that Clemson would lose in the first round. We thought, oh, Notre Dame will handle this, because we've seen, as ACC football guys, we've seen Clemson with some chinks in the armor this year. We've seen their flaws, but they just destroyed Notre Dame. Both of those games were boring. Oklahoma made it interesting in the second half, but other than that,
they played 2 ranked teams this year. Opening day in September, they played Michigan in a close game that they did end up winning, and they played Syracuse, who was ranked 20th at the time, and they destroyed them. Other than that, I mean, they scheduled a lot of easy games this year.
Sure. Yeah. Well, here's the deal. There's a reason why Notre Dame isn't already in the ACC. They don't want to be in the ACC.
Oh, I'm sorry. They did play Northwestern too.
Right. But like in the ACC, look at the teams they'd have to play.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And here's the deal. We've talked about this before. This was an unusual year where Florida State, bad. Virginia Tech, not good. Miami, bad. You're talking about great football programs that as of late in the last 10 years have been good, but not this year at all. And then, of course, you have to keep the North Carolina teams in play. A State or a Carolina, they have had good years. They'll put them together. And even NC State this year wound up with a pretty decent record, but they lost their bowl game.
Yeah. They got their butts handed to them too.
Yeah, well, by Texas A&M and by a coach who had seen NC State every year for 15, 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
Good old Jimbo there at A&M was real familiar with NC State's program. So,
it was a very disappointing first round. I guess my question to you is because dynasties lose their field, they lose their audiences.
Yeah.
Are a lot of people just not even going to watch Alabama Clemson?
They I don't know if you've heard about this, but the secondary market for tickets for the game are historically low. But a major part of that is that they're playing in Santa Clara. They're playing outside of San Francisco, and that's not a college market. I don't know why they chose.
Random.
Yeah, I don't know why they chose to play in that market. Teams that are in the area, like Stanford, can't pack the stadium even when they're good. It's just not a college football market. So I'm really surprised by the decision, but I don't think it's indicative that people won't watch. I guess we'll see what the numbers are. College football games this year, ratings have been up. NFL ratings this year were up 7%. And it's funny that they're celebrating that they're up 7%, considering last year they were down quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
They always like to point back and be like, oh, everything's fine. But it's like,
they're probably back to normal, maybe.
Yeah, I would say normal, but they
lost more than 7% last year, didn't they?
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. But the other thing is that the NFL made it so that there was more offensive playing, there was more gambling, there was more eyeballs on the screen. The games were better. Let's be honest. The games in the NFL this year were better, and there was more parity. There were teams that'd be great one week and bad the next week, and you never could really predict who was going to win, which is good. I still think one of the best games of the entire season was Rams-Chiefs. That was a stellar matchup.
Yeah. And you didn't have any of the kneeling this year. The kneeling was a non-issue
because they didn't bring any attention to it.
Right, no attention to it. And the people, quite frankly, a lot of people turned the TV off last year when that happened. So or last season, I should say.
Yeah. By the way, there are some Panthers fans that do like to point out. Remember our mid-season acquisition, Mr. Nealer himself.
Oh yeah, Eric Reed.
That's when our losing started.
Bad juju, huh?
So it's funny. There is some argument to be made that there is some kind of like locker room cancer there. Like the Panthers keep that kind of stuff wrapped up real tight. So if there was, we wouldn't know until the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
But that it is really interesting. Somebody pointed that out, and I was like, "Oh, that's
I
curious."
didn't think about that. It's a good point. I don't know if that's the real reason.
I think there was a lot more. We're not going to talk Panthers this time. Their season's over. We're not talking Panthers anymore. Thank God.
Well, we will talk about some coaches that have lost their jobs.
Let's talk about bad boys who got fired.
Fired. You're fired. I love the Vince McMahon.
Oh, yeah.
You're fired.
Let me tell you something, brother. You can't fire the Hulkster. Hulkster is WWE.
Todd Bowles in New York. That wasn't really a surprise after starting 10-6 in year one and falling flat over the next 2 or 3 years. I think he's been there 3 seasons.
Jets coaches have a habit of doing that, like Rex Ryan. Come out, do real well, and then just eat shit for the next couple of years.
Yes, and they looked like a really good team when they were 10-6, and I want to say they made the playoffs, but they lost early on, and because they had Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Fitzpatrick was, they were doing very well.
Good old Fitz Magic
and Brandon Marshall, and they were doing well, but just fall on flat since. Yeah. He, however, will be picked up by somebody for on the defensive side. He'll fall back into a coordinator position. He'll be a hot one. Vance Joseph, the Broncos, after 2 years, Elway kind of gave him a pass last year.
Yeah, well, they had that, the quarterback drama because they thought Brock Osweiler was the quarterback of the future, and then he left for the Texans, and then he washed up, and then he came back to the Broncos, and
they signed Keenum, who was another washed up quarterback who didn't do jack.
Man, couldn't happen to a nicer organization.
Yeah, right. Yeah, with Elway with his hands in it, he's definitely owns part of that situation. And they drafted Paxton Lynch that we talked about, who thought he would be great. Stinker.
Yeah. Tell you what, the only thing the Broncos have going for them is a hell of a defense.
Yeah. Without Von Miller and Chubb, they would have been really screwed. But some of that defense is gonna be breaking up this offseason. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Marvin Lewis out after too many years.
11 years.
Cincinnati.
He's been in Cincinnati forever.
He's been on the hot seat for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Every offseason's like, is Marvin Lewis going to lose his job? Is Marvin Lewis going to lose his job?
Almost makes you wonder if he had blackmail on somebody.
Yeah, it's a very good question. They lost to AJ Green, their star wide receiver, most of the year.
Sure.
They didn't. They had an okay running game, but they had zero defense, and they really haven't the last 5 years. So, I heard, I heard that Cincy wanted to interview, what's his? Josh McDaniels, and he already turned down the interview. He was like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't need that interview."
No.
Adam Gase out in Miami. I can't think.
Remember, they were 3-1 at one point, Randy.
That's right. That's right.
People were like, "Is this the Dolphins' year?" No, it is absolutely not the Dolphins' year.
And how many stars did they chew up and spit out or trade? And can't think of anything that could happen there with Adam Gase.
Yeah. Who was their starting quarterback? Ryan Tannehill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who is completely inconsistent. Steve Wilkes, a big surprise here in Arizona, was fired after only 1 year.
Yeah, but when you have one of the worst records in the league,
yeah,
it's
pretty bad.
But in fairness, what team was around him? I don't know. The Cardinals have always historically been very mismanaged.
You give the ball to a rookie quarterback. Unless he's Lamar Jackson or some other Andrew Luck or a rookie that did very well in their first year, many of them don't do well.
I'll tell you what, wait 8 years in Arizona, like they always do, will pick up Andrew Luck for his veteran contract, and they'll milk out a couple playoff wins for 2 years.
They do that.
They don't get young quarterbacks. They're all about them old season, the Kurt Warners, the Carson Palmers. Maybe Eli will go to Arizona.
I have read a lot of articles, though, Robert, and a lot of people are pissed about him being fired because he did so well in Carolina as a defensive coordinator.
Sure.
Before he went over. And you got to give him, I've always heard, at least 3 years for a system to take hold. I mean, he's really playing with all of the players that was giving to him.
I guess he rubbed somebody's rhubarb the wrong way. Well, you know what? We could use a defensive coordinator back in Carolina.
He may come back.
Yeah.
Who knows? He's definitely without a job now. And the last big one right now, so 7 head coaches. There may be an 8th. Dirk Koetter is out. I mean, Dirk Koetter, shit. I do that all the time, Robert.
Yeah.
Pronounce his name. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yar. Yeah, bye. I mean, yeah. Like,
does it get much worse than being a Bucs fan right now? I mean, you could say Browns, but they've had some wins.
They are all so wasted all the time, Randy. They just it's just a fog of like parties and.
Is that what they do? I know they have the pirate ship. So is everybody just drunk as shit on the pirate ship?
Yeah, man. It's what else are you gonna do in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, that's true.
Like you don't got Disney to go to. I live in Florida.
Team is just bad.
Are you near anything with Disney? No, we're the other part of Florida.
When I think of Tampa Bay, I think of their stupid decisions like, I don't know, drafting a kicker in the 2nd round and then and he's god awful and he misses.
What was that, Aguayo?
Yeah.
Was that Aguayo? Yeah.
Yips or something like that. He misses all these kicks and they let him go in year 2 or year 3?
I had a case of the yips, but a good old shot of penicillin knocked that out.
Here, boy, take this tonic. Fire you right up.
No. I ain't playing footy with you. Laces out, Randy.
Finkel is Einhorn.
Einhorn is Finkel. Yes, but enough about Miami.
A few surprises, though, I thought. I threw those in here of coaches that were on the hot seat but ultimately stayed. Doug Marrone of the Jags, your favorite Riverboat Ron, who you thought would certainly be out.
Yeah, there's still a lot of off-season, but yeah, we'll see.
Jay Gruden of the Redskins, who I thought certainly would be out. And I think Mike Tomlin of the Steelers.
The Steelers is just a stinking hole. Like, now Antonio Brown doesn't want to play games, man.
Yeah, I think he's just lost his locker room. It kind of started to leak out last year. But, yeah. With the Antonio Brown saga, now that you've mentioned it, I did put that in the script notes, but it's totally perplexing. The guy's had a career year. I mean, he had, 15 touchdowns this year? And,
no fumbles.
Yeah.
Zero.
The dude has played lights out. He's at 100 catches the last, I think, 8 seasons. And
thousands of yards.
Yeah, the guy is hands down still the best wide receiver in the league. And his route running ability is untouchable. And now, all of a sudden, he's not talking to Ben, who apparently is a big presence in the locker room with the guys. He's kind of like, I heard he's the in-betweeny weenie between the boys and Mike Tomlin. So
just a little
in-betweeny weenie guy. And apparently there's a lot of, I think, dissension there between him and Tomlin.
Yeah, sure. Well, we'll see. I mean, the Steelers have had 3 coaches, like ever.
That's
right?
insane, dude, to even think about.
You know what I mean? So, should they make a change? Yes, probably. We keep holding on for Tomlin to be more, but I hate to say this, but I really feel like how many years apart were the Super Bowls that Bill, what's his name, won with them?
Walsh? No.
No, not Bill Walsh.
Well, I didn't know you were talking about the Steelers. I heard Bill.
Sorry.
Are you talking about Bill Walton,
Ah.
who always has a bunch of nuts in his mouth when he's talking on the air?
Let's see here. Not Mike Tomlin. Obviously, that's who he is right now. Bill Cowher. Thank you.
Bill Cowher. God, that brain.
What's stupid is we even have a Bill Cowher connection here in the Raleigh area. His daughters went to state, so he actually had a home here in North Carolina for a long time. Yeah, Bill Cowher. I'm trying to remember what year he won the Super Bowl between when Mike Tomlin won a Super Bowl, because it was a lot of the same staff.
It was against Arizona, so it was probably from 2006 or 7. Maybe 8.
Yeah, so they won in 2006 with Cowher, and they won in 2009 with Tomlin. So that's 3 years apart. So some staff change, but a lot of I don't know. I don't mean to take anything away from Mike Tomlin, but I just remember thinking like it had a lot of the same pieces from beforehand. But it's a 3-year difference,
and it's been 8 years since Tomlin has done anything. 10 years.
2019, buddy boy.
Oh wow,
let that sink in.
Yeah, the Steel City has got some issues going on there.
All right. We got to move on, man. We got a lot of stuff to cover and limited time to do it.
So, bro, my favorite 2 weekends of the year start this weekend. Wildcard Weekend this weekend and divisional rounds next weekend. Some good games going on. Tomorrow, Saturday, is Colts at Texans. Both teams are 9-2 since week 6, which are the best records in the NFL.
Yep.
That's going to be a good game. And I think the shtick there is going to be, can the Texans defense stop Andrew Luck? Can they solve his issue?
Can they stay healthy long enough to stop him?
That's true. And but the Texans will be gunning with Watson, man. Watson and Hopkins are.
I think it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, it definitely could be. That one could go either way. Honestly, could see that, but the Texans have a great defense, both sides of the ball. I could see them pulling that one out. Excuse me, Seahawks at Cowboys tomorrow night. Excited for that one in prime time. The number 1 rushing offense of Seattle versus the number 5 rushing defense of the Cowboys.
Yeah. Man, it's going to come down to, really, is Dak Prescott going to show up? You know, I think Dallas is going to find a way to handle Seattle on the offensive side of the ball, but the question is going to be, can Dallas keep up and score? They're going to be at home, and here's the deal: Seahawks have not traditionally been a good road team. They love that home field advantage because they love to pump sound in their stadium. But anyways, with all these games, the only one, I think they're all going to be close with the exception of one.
Yep.
With the exception of one. The only one that I think has a real chance of being a blowout is Chargers-Ravens. I have a feeling the Chargers are going to handle the Ravens.
Really? Interesting. Because the Ravens still have one of the top defenses, I think number 2 behind the Bears.
But they can't throw the ball.
No, they can't.
They can't throw the ball.
But Lamar Jackson is exciting.
You got to throw the ball.
That's going to be I think that one's going to be closer than you think. But who knows?
I still can't wrap my head around why the Ravens have home field advantage, but I guess it's because of the division.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Yeah.
Because
the Chargers had a way better record.
Yeah, they have a much better record. But it's because the Ravens, right? It's because Kansas City has the first round bye. They won their division. So
yeah, true. And the last game on Sunday, Eagles at Bears. Bears number 1 defense. Eagles with Nick Foles at the helm, who is incredibly well, plays incredibly well. December and January football.
Sure, I'll be pulling for the Bears, and I'm not a Bears fan, but
yeah, it's to be exciting to have some new teams and new blood in there. The Bears, it's been a long time since they've been good. So
yeah, and let's be honest, the Eagles have kind of limped in the playoffs.
They have. They got in by luck. They got in because the Vikings lost.
Yeah.
So they limped in. You're absolutely right. Great point. I could definitely see the Bears winning that one, because remember when they played the Rams, they absolutely smothered the Rams.
Sure.
If they play the same way against the Eagles, it should be no problem.
Yeah, Nick Foles. And here's the thing we have to remember. Though Nick Foles has been playing better as of late, Nick Foles does not have an offensive line. That's still a problem.
Very true.
Still a problem. Carson Wentz went out. He's got a broken back. I mean, that's a bad hit.
Very bad. So we'll see who shows up there, because they don't have a running game. And all they've got is really Foles. So, we'll see. I think the Bears will shut them down. It'll be a fun weekend, nevertheless. So the Hall of Fame finalists came out over the last couple of days. Some big names in here, Robert. Let me read these off to you.
Sure.
See what you think.
Yeah.
Tony Gonzalez. So arguably one of the
tight end from Kansas City and Atlanta.
Yeah. One of the best, if not the best, tight ends of all time.
Well, you got to think he's the one who really changed the position.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, he revolutionized it. He, with touchdowns and receiving yards, he was kind of the first gadget tight end, somebody who was a viable option on your offense.
Yeah, it wasn't just your typical blocking tight end.
Yeah, sure.
Who always put up numbers. Especially I remember him more in Atlanta, I think, than I do at the Chiefs. But who was guaranteed he was going to be getting the ball, especially in the red zone, because of he was a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, big guy.
Absolutely matchup nightmare. So I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Some other great names here. Isaac Bruce, of your favorite Rams as a child. Edgerrin James. Ed Reed, who I think for surely will get in.
Sure.
Steve Atwater, another great safety. Played for Denver for a long time. Champ Bailey, who is for sure to get in. Ty Law, John Lynch, Tony Baselli.
That's
Steve
tough,
Hutchinson.
man. That's a lot of competition.
Yeah. Alan Faneca, Kevin Mawai. I mean, I like to see the big guys getting some love there.
Sure. One thing I want to say, you were mentioning about Tony Gonzalez, he is sixth all time in receiving yards in the NFL.
Wow.
A tight end is sixth.
15,000 receiving yards and 111 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Yes, sir.
I don't think I ever knew he was a first-round pick.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But he's 6'5", which as a tight end, that's big.
See,
he's a big boy.
He lived up to his first-round status. A lot of people don't. Man, that is crazy. What an awesome career he had, too. And played for a long time. How many people played that long? How many years is that? Let's see, 15-year career, 16-year career at a high level. And the thing was, it's not like he went out on an injury or bad play. He was still good when he went out with Atlanta.
Yeah.
Still finished the season with 83 receptions. And 8 touchdowns. That's impressive. Anyways, great Hall of Famers that will surely, a lot of them have a great chance of getting in. Some big names, man. I think this is probably the biggest list I've seen in a long time. But we're getting to that kind of era that we grew up with, watching these stars now that they're finally hitting the ballot.
Sure.
Seeing these names come across, it's pretty awesome. So how about a little NBA talk?
Yeah, man. We've been talking football for weeks now. We're finally getting to the meat of the season when you can really start judging teams, for what they're going to be like. Yeah, you want to get? I mean, where do you want to start? Where do you want to start? Do we want to start on the West Coast? You want to start on the East Coast?
How about the East, man? What the buck is going on in the East?
Yeah, man. Milwaukee Bucks up at the top. And the Toronto Raptors, who looked real strong at the beginning, have been fumbling as of late. They just went and lost bad to the Spurs last night. And the Spurs are not good. They're not a good team. I think it was Kawhi with those old hometown yips.
Booed.
Yeah. Well, and Danny Green was like, cheered, and then here's Kawhi, and they booed him the entire game.
Crap out of him.
Well, look at how he treated him.
Rightfully so, with his fake injury.
Yeah, man. I don't blame them for reacting that way.
I think people can respect if you have great service and just to your team and end up going to another team, but they don't respect you faking an injury and just lollygagging around for an entire season.
It makes you wonder. I just realized this. Toronto got rid of their coach at the end of the year last year. And then they bring on Kawhi. I wonder if that was some behind closed doors requirement he had.
Man, that's very good point.
The Stars,
we did think it was very random and very out of character to fire a coach that had a winning season.
Well, and had taken a team from nothing to Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. Yes. I do think that was odd. Is there more play there? I don't know, but we've seen with LeBron and other big stars, they have a hand in that, whether people see it or not.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But yeah, the whole thing is like it's up on its ear. You've got Denver with a bunch of games in the West. You've got the Golden State Warriors that are just in chaos, which is kind of fun to watch. It's kind of fun watching dynasties like fall apart. I hate that. Yeah.
I think as Americans, we'd like to see dynasties grow, but as soon as they get just a little too much to be a dynasty, we like to see them crash and burn.
Baby. Look at how quickly we've all jumped on. So the Eagles beat the Patriots, and like for a day, everyone were Philadelphia Eagles fans. And then we remembered how obnoxious Philly fans are.
Yeah.
And we're like, fuck them.
Go back to your home.
Yeah, go back to your cheesesteaks and diabetes.
You guys don't have shit to do.
They're from the city of brotherly shove.
You're right. Everybody in America was pulling for the Eagles, Robert.
Sure.
Nobody, unless you're in Boston or you're one of the kids that wears a Boston hat or your freaking Patriots hat and you live in North Carolina, have absolutely no ties.
I just like winners, Randy. Just like winners. Those people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And and we've watched them crash, and they've definitely lost half that fan base overnight.
But here's the thing we've got to talk about. I mean, Golden State's collapse is fun, but particularly the collapse they had last night. They had a 20-point lead on the Houston Rockets.
Oh, I didn't know it was that much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they had a 20-point lead on them. And the Rockets came back and won in overtime with a dagger to the heart from James Harden.
Yes.
He had a triple-double, had over 40 points, 15 assists, like 11 rebounds, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it is his fifth straight game of 40-plus points. Now, to put that in perspective, the only other two people in the NBA who've ever done that are Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant.
Wow.
Now, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant at each have had 9 consecutive games at 40-plus points. But it's hard to wrap your head around. You'd think somebody like KD would be in that conversation with as high-scoring games as he's had.
Sure.
But he doesn't have the consistency to score like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really astounding. And to think that James Harden was a bench player for the Oklahoma City Thunder years ago.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about that tonight, how they traded him away. For what? I can't even remember what they get Serge Ibaka out of that trade and somebody.
I'm sure it was
garbage
time.
Player.
You got to make you had to make KD and Russell Westbrook happy.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Imagine what they would have been like, the three of them playing together, like Harden now with KD and Westbrook. You're absolutely right. I think you're right. I don't think Westbrook and Harden can be on the same court. I don't think
KD and Harden. But honestly, I don't think KD, because think about it. KD is lanky. He should be a strong forward, but he's not a strong forward. KD plays like a shooting guard.
Mm-hmm.
He's too. I mean, he's a great shooting guard, but he's too big to be a shooting guard.
Well, yes.
You need his size down in the paint. So it puts them in a weird position on any other team.
Right. So and it's funny. So they won in overtime, but not before the refs tried to give the Warriors the game.
Yeah, man.
That KD call that they missed with him, I don't know, 3 feet out of bounds was ridiculous.
Yeah.
How do you miss that at the end of a game?
Home cooking, man. It happened.
That is certainly home cooking. But I mean, he was so far. It wasn't like he jumped from one line, over the out of bounds line and then tried to throw the ball back in and his pinky toe touched. Yeah. He was already out of bounds running the baseline. Yeah. How do you miss that? And they go on to hit the next shot, Steph Curry does. And thank God James Harden hit the dagger at the end. Although I don't know, man, they started doubling him at the top of the court, and it looked like they weren't going to get any kind of shot off.
Well, you look at the picture, and there's like 2 big hands and arms like in his face. Like he made a very contested shot.
Well, I'm talking about the possession before that.
Oh, yeah.
Over on the left side, they got the kick ball. They got the ball back with only 5 seconds to go. And yes, you're right, man. What an incredible shot with the former defensive player of the year in his face, I might add, of Draymond Green.
Well, and, we didn't even really think about this, but we did kind of mention it. Playing former teammate Kevin Durant,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting. It's amazing that he can play so well and doesn't get they had a great season last year, but they missed 27 consecutive threes in a playoff game. A game 7, and then we just stopped talking about the Rockets.
It'd be interesting to see. They obviously should be fine for the playoffs, but can James Harden will this team to the finals? And he's gonna need the help he can get. But if he continues at this pace at 33 points an average for this season, man, they should be okay.
Yeah, I would certainly think so. And it like I said before, you have a note on here about the Lakers are 4-6 in the last 10 games, but they're also without LeBron. He's not playing; he's injured. He's got a bad groin pull. But the Lakers beat the Golden State Warriors on Christmas.
It's true.
I mean, there's a big power shift in the West, and like I said, how fascinating it is to have seen LeBron leave the East and that vacuum just be like it's just like
Cleveland immediately to the bottom of the standings.
If there is no greater argument for him being the perennial MVP, you know what I mean? He recently on his barbershop show or one of those shows was talking about how he looks back at Golden State. The series where they were the best team with the best season and nobody was going to beat them and they were decimating teams and they go up 3-1 on Cleveland and then Cleveland wins 3 consecutive games and wins the series. And LeBron was saying, he's like, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but listen, if you can with this team beat supposedly the greatest team of all time, like statistically one of the greatest teams of all time, the winningest team of all time, single season record for wins. And he's like, that's got to make you in contention for the greatest of all time if you can beat that team the way that they did. And that's kind of a valid argument,
It is.
Because that team was stacked.
Yeah, and unbeatable. Man, and you're right. We saw it with the Giants and Patriots. The Patriots being unbeatable that year. But, that right there, that playoff series or that finals was probably one of the best ones I've ever watched because everyone counted out LeBron. There were a few people murmuring, don't count out LeBron. He's down 3-1. Don't count out LeBron. Don't count out LeBron. But
no one had ever done 3-1 in a finals.
No.
And 3-1 is super rare anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember thinking I watched every single game of that series. I watched all 7 games of that series.
That was compelling TV.
It really was.
That was good basketball. That was vintage 90s Bulls era basketball, I would say. So Yeah, it's interesting. You've got two teams leading each division that who knows where they'll finish there, but
Yeah.
with Milwaukee in the East and Denver in the West, it's nice to see some fresh blood at the top, and hopefully not another, championship where you have those two teams of Golden State. Well, obviously Cleveland's not going to be there, but
No.
a LeBron team. So we'll see, man. We liked the Rockets last year. We both talked them up and really thought they would do better than they did.
They took them to 7 games, man.
Yeah,
seriously,
that's true.
I remember seeing a breakdown of it. They overcommitted to the 3, but it's what they did well. And on the biggest stage, they didn't execute. Like, what did I say? 27 consecutive missed threes. That's just that you can't come back from that.
No, you can't, brother.
No, you can't. You can't come back from that. So it's just, but still, they were still in that game. I mean, they still had a chance to win, and yeah, I'm going to keep a real close eye on them this year. I still, they've had their ups and downs, but that's the thing. The NBA season's long. We're only a third of the way through it right now. So
Chris Paul also hurt right now. He's out, right?
I think so.
I think he's injured.
Yeah. But anyways, it's definitely something to keep your eye on. Absolutely something to keep your eye on.
Yeah, I think we'll have some exciting playoffs. Wrap this puppy up, baby.
I will wrap it up. If you like what you see here, you like other things on our YouTube channel or maybe some of our other shows, make sure to check them out. We, of course, are Crisco Industries. And if you like what we do here, want to help us keep the lights on, keep the servers rolling, and keep diapers on our babies' bottoms, consider supporting us at Patreon. And you can, don't actually have it up there. There we go. Patreon.com/Crisco Industries. And even just $1 a month really helps us with the server fees and that sort of a thing. And I'm not going to say any more than that. Randy, do you have any bits of sage wisdom that you'd like to share with the ladies at home?
Sage wisdom. Think I'm going to go hiking this weekend. Gonna hike my recliner backwards and watch some playoffs, baby. So yes. Let's go Wildcard Weekend.
You never cease to disappoint, Randy. Young, dumb, and full of cum. And with that, for Randy Watkins, I'm Robert Jones, and this has been the R&R Sports Podcast, and we will catch y'all next week.
Woo! Woo!